Welcome to A Dose of Feel Good. I'm your host, Whitney Bischoff, and today we are talking about Worth the Wait. You can see full show notes at doseoffeelgood.my.canva.site. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Dose of Feel Good. We are already at episode 62, which just seems absolutely wild that we are this far into the journey and spreading all of the feel good into the universe. But we're going to jump into our topic this week, which is Worth the Wait, which I think is perfect for this week, considering I think I've mentioned this a few times, but one of my main goals for starting the podcast is I just feel like so many people could use a little more feel good in their lives and in the universe. And I started this having no idea of where it was going to go, who it was going to impact. And honestly, it's been really helpful, even just for myself. But when we're talking about worth the wait, I genuinely believe that at some point, this is going to touch the right people in the right moments when they need it most. And I'm really hopeful that it will have a much broader reach than it is now. And we're only a little over a year in, and it has gone so much further than I probably could have imagined. There's just so much more that I'm hoping that it will go. And so when we're talking about worth the wait, it's this in-between moment that I think some of us struggle with. And I know I am one of those that you can't tell me that any of us loves the unknown of life, right? If you do, you can raise your hand, you can comment, you can like whatever makes sense. But I think none of us really love the unknowns of life. And I think that's where the stress or the anxiety of life comes from. And I know whenever I'm talking with folks, there's just, I think sometimes it feels like these unusual levels of stress and anxiety in the world. And I don't know if it's just where I'm at in life or just the state of things now, or if it's maybe where it is now versus forever. I don't know, right? But it sometimes feels like there's just these new levels of stress or anxiety because of all of the unknown. And I often think, though, like from the flip side of that, of how boring would life be if we knew how it was all going to go or how it was all going to play out. I know I wouldn't want that. Like, no, thank you. So it's this weird in between that, like, we don't really love the unknown of life, but we also don't really want a playbook of how it's all going to go. And so how do we find that happy medium? And so I think sometimes when we hit these phases of life where we are in the waiting, where we're maybe taking the steps or we have an idea of what we want in these moments, but nothing really seems to be coming together for us. Or maybe we've been really patient with our plans or with the people in our lives or those types of things, and that patience is starting to run thin. We're taking all the steps and it's like, but when is it all going to come together? Or maybe for the millennials of the world or others, we've hit this piece of midlife crisis where we start to question, what is the point of all of this? What am I doing? Where am I going? Right? Like, there's all of these unknown pieces, right? Maybe you find yourself in that phase of life, whatever those phases look like. And the piece, when we're talking about things being worth the wait, the reality is that we're thinking that our timing is ours in these moments. And so if we relied on our own timing, we would be settling for something that's mediocre, rather than if we just trust that whatever is meant to be will work out and it will be worth the wait. It's going to be so much better than whatever we have planned. So if my wildest dreams, right, or whatever I picture that to look like, were to come to fruition tomorrow, that's going to be a mediocre version than if I were to just trust the process. It's going to be so much better when the timing is right. I think the hard part is then these in-between moments, right? The waiting is what teaches us how to be mentally tough, how to really be the best of ourselves, and teaches us how mentally tough we really are, right? We don't give ourselves enough credit, but the in-between moments are incredibly difficult. We want it to just happen. But if we don't really prepare ourselves in the in-between or in that unknown, we don't know how capable we really are. And so this in-between moment is twofold. It teaches us how to really be strong and build up that mental muscle, if you will, for the timing to be right. When it's right, then it's going to be so much better than we can even prepare ourselves for. And I know, at least for myself, that every waiting period that I have ever been in, and I feel like lately it's been a lot of waiting periods, but I know they've always been worth it. Always. And it helps me to be sure that I'm ready for the next best thing. And whatever that next best thing, it will be the best. That I don't know what that looks like. But when the timing is right, when all of the lines and dots start to connect, I don't know what that looks like. But I always say the universe has a better picture and plan than what I have laid out. I just have to trust in the process. And that's what builds up that mental toughness in the meantime. So I'm going to show this as a little bit different example. I think you could use a variety of pieces, but I'm going to use one of my medical journeys, if you will. So I have a rare brain condition. It's called idiopathic intracranial hypertension. And I was originally diagnosed in, 2015. And it was a journey. It was like a 6-week journey. It was a disaster. Don't need to go into the depths of that. But when I was first diagnosed, I didn't fit the typical mold of a patient who had this condition. And there was a lot of back and forth of where should I go? How should they treat it? XYZ. And probably for the first, I would say 5 years or so, I wasn't responding to the typical treatment plan. No one really knew what to do with me. And I felt like I kept getting kind of passed off from person to person. And I tried to get a referral to Mayo Clinic, and it was denied. And I just remember being in that waiting period because I was just in so much pain, and it was rough. And I was so upset. I was so upset that I couldn't get in to see these professionals. And flash forward, I started seeing a doctor here. He was fabulous. He took really great care of me. I had 2 brain procedures, surgeries to relieve the symptoms. They worked super well. And following the second surgery, I started having these super low blood sugar issues, like out of the blue. Never had an issue ever before. I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but anyways, neither here nor there. These blood sugar issues that no one could figure out where they were coming from is what finally got me over to Mayo Clinic and saw a doctor there. He is also fabulous, and I got to experience everything that Mayo Clinic has to offer, which, by the way, fabulous. They are fabulous folks. Anyways, so I got into Mayo Clinic for this insulin autoimmune syndrome, which is also known as Harada's disease. There are 500 known cases in the world, and only 100 in white people. And if y'all didn't know, I am very white, very white. So it is a running joke with my doctor there. Anyways, so while I was there, I had asked him about some of these neurological symptoms that I had been having, and he was, I wouldn't say super concerned, but he was like, let's have our brain people take a look at you. Okay, great. So we got a referral finally, right? I was finally able to get into them. So in between the time I was there for my blood sugar issues and there for getting the headache referral, I had a TIA, so a mini stroke at home. It was terrifying in so many ways. And I already had a referral in at Mayo to see their headache folks, and now they've taken on my case 1000% at a time when I needed it most. So I thought, when we're talking about worth the wait, right? I thought I needed to be there 5 years ago to get all of this figured out. When really I needed it now, and I don't know why my blood sugar decided to do what it does. The doctors don't know why the timing is now. But I know that if all of this happened in my timing, that it may not have been when I needed it most with these mini strokes that I'm having. And so it all happened in the right timing is what I'm trying to say and trying to show with this story. And I think it's true when we're talking about whether it's job searches, relationships, friendships, etc., that if we think the timing or the choices are our own, then we might end up in spaces that aren't the best fit for us. So we just have to trust. I always say, like, that's where faith comes in, or universe, or whatever you believe there, that like it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to in the best way. Sometimes we just have to let it all fall into place. And I think the impact of this is like the waiting period. It helps us flex those mental toughness muscles that, like, I would love to tell you that the 5 years in between trying to get into Mayo Clinic and now being in there, that everything was fine and dandy. It wasn't. It was difficult. There was a lot of advocating. There was a lot of things I still had to do. But it helped me to realize that there was more than what I was yearning for in those moments, right? So there was more to me than just that end goal. Like, I can bring more to the table. Like, I can flex that mental toughness muscle, right? So whatever that thing is that you're yearning for, you can bring things to the table as you're going towards that, right? Like, there are things that bring you to those moments, but there is more than just that thing that you're yearning for. Part of that is the process to get you there. And like I said, I really, it's hard in that in between, but like, I know now as like I am job searching and looking for like, what am I meant to be doing in this moment, right? Like, what does that look like for me? And sometimes we just have to believe that like the universe has my back, and maybe it just knows something that I don't. Maybe it does. I don't know. And so I just have to trust that that timing is right. And in the meantime, like, I'm going to work on me. I'm going to still show up and bring what I have to the table. But I always go back to like that burnt toast theory that like maybe whatever I'm experiencing now is for a greater reason. Maybe I'm being protected from whatever isn't the right path for me. And I just have to be okay with that, right? Like, maybe what I think is best isn't what's actually best. And I just have to trust that the right dominoes are going to fall in the right place. And if it doesn't all line up, right? If you think of dominoes that are falling, if they don't all fall to get to that end goal, maybe that just wasn't the end goal for me. And I try to remind myself that the weight is already working in our favor. It's already kind of being put together. Maybe the dominoes are being stacked. Maybe they just need to be stacked in the right way, in the right places. But we might just not know what that process looks like. But we do know, and we just have to have sometimes that faith that it's all going to be fabulous, and taking advantage of that wait and the in-between moments to flex that mental toughness muscle and work on those pieces. So that leads us right into our call to action. So I think the most important part through this is to reflect through the wait. Don't just pass through it. Take a moment to really look at, like, what is each of these moments teaching you, or how can you build that mental toughness along the way? Because I think that reflection really helps you to understand, like, how strong you are in those in-between moments. And I know, at least for me, like, I am not good at the in-between at all. But that helps me to believe that there is purpose still in those in-between moments, right? There is still so much to learn in those spaces. I also find myself reflecting on a time when my timing maybe would have not been as good as just trusting in the timing of a different space. And what I mean by that is, like, if it would have worked out the way I would have wanted it to work out, it wouldn't have been as great as if I just trusted the process, right? So think of that, right? Like, I think of maybe like job opportunities of, if I would have taken, I think back to my most recent job. I had a couple of different job opportunities in the pipeline, and I almost took one different than the suicide prevention job that I'm currently in. And I think back so often, and I was so upset when I didn't get it. And I think back now, and I'm like, I would have hated that job, at least compared to what I'm doing now. Like, I absolutely adore what I do so much. And I'm like, if I would have walked through that other door, I would have missed this opportunity. And what a shame that would have been. So that's what I mean by that. And the last piece is, whatever you're yearning for, whether that is a job, whether that's a partner or a relationship, whether it's certain friendships, or I think of this, like, people are always like, oh, this ideal friendship group that, you see on TikTok or social media. Not everybody has those. Whether it's success, health, whatever that thing is you're yearning for, discover what your identity is outside of that. I had a mentor tell me that a few years ago, and I think that is one piece of advice that has 100% stuck with me. Like, what is your identity outside of that thing that you yearn for most? And continue to focus on that you're not just that thing that you yearn for. Like, there's so much more to you. And that thing you yearn for is still there, and it will come to fruition, but it can't be the only thing. And I think there's a lot of power to that. So that's where we're going to end the episode. But I promise you, if you're in that in-between moment of life, that it will be worth the wait. It will all come together. The timing is just always up in the air. So I hope this gives you some encouragement this week. And don't forget to join us again next week. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.